The Remington 870 LongFowler. Alright guys, I've been kicking around making this video for a little while. This is a Remington 870 that I've nicknamed the LongFowler. The reason that is because it's a 30-inch barrel. So originally I had found that 30-inch barrel and that camo synthetic stock new at a gun shop. I ended up getting a pretty good deal for $230 cash. So I was going to put it on this gun here, in which it did sit on for just, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred rounds. And that's a slug gun that I use occasionally for deer hunting. And then I ended up strolling on this Super Mag Express at a gun shop, and I ended up getting it for $350. And at the time, back in 2020, when I put this all together, the Super Mags, because Remington, obviously they went out of business, and then whoever took over Rem Arms, or Remington, they call themselves Rem Arms now, they weren't making anything at the time, so these were actually going for $500-600 with just a standard Express, not all the accessories that I have on the gun, on Gunbroker. So I ended up putting this together for a lot cheaper than most people, and it's quite set up. So I'll go over all the details in the second portion of the video. But what I've done just to get started is I put on a factory 30-inch Super Mag barrel. That will fit 3-inch chambers as well. You just shouldn't shoot the 3.5-inch shells in them. They might fit, but you probably shouldn't. I put a factory synthetic stock on there. It's not quite the camo I wanted, but for the price I paid, I wasn't arguing. I put a Limbsaver recoil pad. That helps quite a bit. I've got a set of Carlson Waterfowl choke tubes in close range, mid-range, long range. I even have a turkey choke that I pulled out of a parts bin at a gun show for $3. I believe it's a 655 constriction. And like I said, I'll show that in the second portion. I did end up adding a sling swivel to that. I put a Wolff more power magazine spring, as well as an aluminum anodized follower, a Volquartsen extractor, and I also put a Timney Trigger assembly in this. It just comes with a sear and different springs you can adjust, and I put an oversized push button safety. So the second part of the video is coming up here shortly, and then that's where I'll show you those parts kind of up close and personal, and I'll show you the trigger pull compared to the factory 870 slug gun. Alright guys, so this is the second portion of the video where I'll kind of break it down, and I'll show you some of the parts that I've done. We'll do a trigger comparison as well. So maybe what we'll do is we'll get started with the trigger pull. And let me go get the factory slug gun. Alright. You can see there's nothing in it for any of you safety Nazis. £4 pounds, 4 ounces. Now I will add that this is a bit more spongy. 4 pounds, roughly 8 ounces. So once again, that's a stock trigger in an 870. And that's a slug gun, so a better trigger would be preferred, considering you're not shooting at a flying target, you're shooting at a stationary target. So now this is the LongFowler. You can see she's empty. Alright, now this has the Timney Trigger set in it, but it is just a sear and a couple different springs that you can kind of choose for your liking. I went on a little bit on the higher side for trigger pull because, you know, this is a hunting gun. 3 pounds. Let's do one more for good measure. £2, roughly 15 ounces. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, at least trigger pull, what I will tell you is the Timney Trigger set feels a whole lot more, it's smooth, there's less take up, there's less over travel. At least that's kind of the feel it gets. I mean, keep in mind it is just an 870. This is not some amazing trigger. I mean, you'd have to probably swap all those parts. I don't even know if anybody makes anything like that. This is what Timney calls the trigger fix kit. And you can see some a tube with a couple springs in there. I did not go with the lightest springs. The top spring, and they're color coded by the way, the top spring you kind of notice is pretty thick. That's the factory one. And then there's another two lighter ones. I actually have the heaviest one that Timney offers in this kit. And then the factory sear is also in there. And there's a little Allen wrench in that as well, because you can actually adjust the tension on that spring. So each spring has a fixed tension, right? But then you can actually adjust, and I'll show you when I pull this apart here. So just disassemble it, you pop the two pins out. This is that trigger kit. So if you look in there, you can see that that's adjustable. So where that spring is seated, right here, you can actually adjust that in and out. It's threaded right in here in the new sear that they give you. There's a top view. So right there, you can adjust that in and out. So not only does each spring have different tension from Timney in the kit, you can also change the tension by moving that portion that seats the spring in and out. And it is against a nylon lock, so that tension will not move over time. Also, while you're looking there, you can kind of see I went with an oversized safety. You can see it's much larger than there's the stock size, because that's pushing it back off, and then that's on. Also, in the magazine tube, I went with a Wolff Xtra Power. I went with a Wolff Xtra Power magazine spring. And what it's good for is +0, meaning just the standard, you can fit 4 shells in the tube, to, I believe it goes up to +2. I like more power because I have noticed with some 870s, especially I had an older Wingmaster, and maybe because it's an older gun too, that sometimes it'd be a little weak with the shells coming out. So a little bit extra pushing the shell out I thought was a good thing. The other thing that I changed is right in there. You'll notice that's orange. And that is one of those aluminum hard anodized followers. I made it orange because kind of factory's orange, so you could see it as well, like in low light situations. But the reason I put that in there is I actually had one of them plastic ones break in my slug gun, and I had to buy another one. And you know what, for $15 or whatever that cost, it's worth it. And they're smooth. They slide up and down in the magazine tube real easy, just because it's so smooth, the tolerance is nicer, and it's hard anodized, so naturally it's going to slide against metal a whole lot easier than, you know, plastic that's dragging and potentially could break. And the last portion that I changed, and I think this is something that you have to do if you're not going to do anything to an 870. You either need to put one of these in, and you're looking at, that's the Volquartsen, and that's the most expensive little piece of metal you'll probably ever buy. So it's a little piece of metal that they wire EDM cut. I don't remember the material specifications, but wire EDM, if you know anything about that, you can hold a tolerance that most guns can't even consider needing. And it's 25 bucks. They might even be $30 now. But the whole point of that is the factory one. That's the stock extractor, and that is a MIM part. Not that there's an issue with MIM, but do keep in mind these break pretty often. I don't know what they're made of, you know, what the heat treating specs are, but if you go on eBay and you try to replace the stock one with another stock one, you know, there may be $8 or $9, but they sell 500 of them, you know, because it's a common part to break. Now, I'm sure some people lose them, but at the end of the day, I've had one break on me, and my dad's buddy had one break, I know, you know, maybe only on a 2-year-old 870. But this Volquartsen extractor, I just can't say enough good about it, other than, yeah, get prepared to spend 25 or 30 bucks for a tiny little piece of metal that you could lose if you're not paying attention. But that's an absolute necessity, in my opinion, if you're going to be hunting with a newer 870 that uses a MIM extractor. That's pretty much like that's a you have to do that, because that will eventually break on you. You know, to know 2 people that have broken them in less than 1,000 rounds fired, that's not so good. And I'm sure some of you have thousands of rounds, have never broken one, but I have broken one. And then, like I said, I know my dad's buddy had broken one as well. It's super easy to install. You just need to depress this plunger spring right here and kind of work it out. You can use a punch or the tip of a pen. So that's definitely something I would do if you're not going to do anything. And then the last part is the Limbsaver recoil pad. This definitely isn't as nice as the 870, the Supercell from Remington, but it's much more durable than the Supercell, so that's why I never put a Supercell back on here. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to kind of wrap the video up that way. You guys can let me know what you think. Like I said, I've nicknamed this gun the LongFowler because it's a 30-inch barrel, and I'm going to run a picture here. I use it for dove hunting quite a bit, and I'm going to scroll through some photos of some of the dove hunts I've had with this, but I shot a limit in 2021 with this gun. The limit of doves 15 here in eastern Pennsylvania. So you guys let me know what you think. If you guys hunt with an 870, if you like it. I don't really hunt with 12 gauge much anymore, but this gun's not going anywhere. I've really enjoyed having it. It's a blast to shoot. All right, I'll talk to you later.